Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to AMC Movie Talk coming from Atlanta, Georgia. How you doing, guys?
Woo!
We are, of course, we are in Atlanta. We've been doing our shows from Atlanta here for the last couple of days here for the AMC Leadership Conference. It's been great, and Justin came up with the idea to come to the AMC FIPS 14 here in Atlanta and do it with AMC viewers here, and we're so psyched you guys are here. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. For those of you who don't know, sitting on my immediate right is Mr. Dennis Zen.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to see the thousands and thousands of people out there.
So many of you came out.
It's crazy.
To my left, Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach.
Hey, guys. Is that Aunt May over there?
and of course, John Schnepp.
Hello, everyone from Atlanta. Buckhead. We're in Buckhead.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. We've got just a couple of topics have come up since our last AMC Movie Talk that we should go over, and then we're basically going to make this an all Q&A session. So we can talk about movies, we can talk about movie talk, we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about tonight. So let's get started with this. Obviously, the big news for the last 24 hours has been Spider-Man. Spider-Man, and now he's going to appear in at least one Marvel Cinematic thing, and he's got his own new franchise starting at Sony. We've learned a couple more things since then. We said on AMC Movie Talk yesterday, which is really this morning for us, that, I guess that Sinister Six movie's canceled. I guess that's done. No, it ain't. Coming Soon's reporting, and I didn't see who their source was, but Coming Soon is reporting that, no, Sony is moving Sinister Six back. They're taking it off that November 2016 release date and pushing it back. But Sony's saying that movie is still in development. Cabin in the Woods director Drew Goddard is still writing and directing it, and they're still moving ahead with it. So, Schnepp, what the hell? Like, what do they do? What's the idea
Sounds
here?
crazy. I don't know if Avi Arad's behind it, or, he's like the king of the chess play, moving people around. But you know what? When I heard that just like a few minutes ago, I instantly thought, well, it's obviously not going to be the Sinister Six that's from
the Amazing
Oscorp,
Spider-Man.
like we were talking about, like with the Vulture and all the other stuff down in the basement. That's all gone. So if they are moving forward, maybe they're going to do a fresh approach and like introduce the Sinister Six that we all know from the original Spider-Mans, because I kind of get that feeling that since Marvel is now doing Marvel's Spider-Man, is actually going to be part of the Marvel universe, they're going to bring in all the villains that we all know, and they're kind of probably going to look very much closer to what we would imagine like the Vulture might look like, or the Green Goblin, or Kraven, or Mysterio. So I think all those villains that are in the Sinister Six, they're still going to introduce them and make a kind of a gang that Spider-Man's going to have to fight, is my guess. That's the only guess that I got. Or they're just saying they're going to keep moving forward with it, and then they'll cancel it in like 3 months just to see the face. So.
Hey, Rose?
They're just teasing us. Yeah, it's really interesting news. But, I mean, Amy Pascal is still involved in it.
Yeah.
And she's been the champion of this universe, of expanding it. So I am surprised, but this, they're just letting us in on this. They've obviously had this mapped out. And then they made this big dog and pony reveal, which, yesterday we were at a bar and we heard about this news.
We had like 11 o'clock at night?
Yes.
And all of a sudden our phones start blowing up. I was like, what? Was it later? Okay,
yeah.
There we go.
And then we had to jump out.
I have no memory of last night.
It's exciting, and the villain, the idea of this troop of villain, just so exciting, and it gives them their own ensemble team to rival against the other things we're going to see in other universes. So I'm really excited about it, and it'll be interesting to see, first and foremost, who they cast as the new Spidey.
All right, Dennis?
I'm surprised as well, because I thought the whole reason they were doing it is because they had such a small shared universe and that they needed some other movie to do besides Spider-Man. Now that they have kind of, not rights to Marvel's characters, but they can use some of them, I thought, okay, they'll just branch out into that. So hearing that they're still doing it is actually quite surprising for me.
The only thing, I'm shocked too. I'm very surprised. The only reason I'm not totally shocked is if, number one, Amy Pascal is still the producer on the film. It's still being run by Sony and all that kind of stuff. But if they feel, and this is a huge if, and I got nothing to back this up with, but if Sony feels like we had a great idea for a Sinister Six, we had a great idea, like the concept of their Sinister Six movie was great. Okay, we can't use the Osborn that we used in The Amazing Spider-Man. We can't use Jamie Foxx. We can't use Paul Giamatti. Yeah. Paul Giamatti is right.
Right now, the Spider-Man. That's the rhyme.
That was so
Wait, let's
bad.
pause while this little boy crosses the street. Let's just pause. For
Oh
a
yeah,
second.
we'll stop the gunfight for a little boy. Yeah, so they're gonna have a whole new Sinister Six, but they still had a great idea for Sinister Six. Okay, if you want to introduce a bunch of new guys, and I can't remember, one of you guys said this today. You said the reason Sony can still go ahead with the Sinister Six is because of Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, a ragtag group that they use in a certain way, and Suicide Squad.
Yep.
You know, we got DC doing Suicide Squad. So, I mean, I guess, no, there's no hiding. I'm shocked. I am still stunned. But I guess you could sort of see some logic behind it if that's what they're thinking. Otherwise, I don't know what they're talking about.
Well, think about also all the setup they did in Amazing Spider-Man 2. That's all gone now.
Oh, yeah.
And so they got to
completely gone.
rebuild that
Fresh slate.
again. So I don't know.
I think they've weave Aunt May in somehow.
Yeah. She's behind Sinister Six. Right?
Oh, and that'd be awesome if Aunt May was secretly the
She's
head
the
of the
puppet
Sinister
master.
Six.
Horrible. Yeah.
One of the other pieces of news that came out just before we actually started tonight was that apparently it's been confirmed that, so we did know that Sony is maintaining creative control and ownership. They will finance, distribute, and everything, all the standalone Spider-Man films. Marvel will kind of oversee all the stuff where Spider-Man comes into their movies. But apparently now it's been confirmed that like all box office receipts, all profits from the standalone Spider-Man movies will go directly to Sony, and all the money that the Marvel films make with Spider-Man in them will not be shared with Sony. That will stay with Marvel.
Marvel strikes again.
Yeah, no, yeah, they really do. But I guess that makes sense. I thought maybe there'd be a revenue split between both, but this kind of makes sense, I guess. Like, Dennis, how do you see it?
As long as Marvel, because I have a feeling Marvel is going to have a big hand in even the Sony solo movies. So as long as those movies keep making a lot of money for Sony, they don't care. But as soon as like any of those start dropping off, they're going to want to get a piece of some of the Marvel movies that have Spider-Man in them. But as long as Marvel keeps them happy, and I think that's why the whole deal got struck.
They're begging Feige right now. Please tell us what to do. Come on.
I mean, if they're smart.
If they're smart.
If
they
they're
should
smart,
listen
they're
to the
asking Feige.
Godfather.
Yeah, listen to them.
Honestly, like Marvel has just such a just anything they do, just giant piles of money show up. So it seems like they're just like, you can have that money. You know, they don't even need Sony. Like,
They want the
you can have
character.
that Spider-Man money. Just give us Spider-Man. We can weave him back into our cinematic universe. And even though it says Sony has creative control, I don't believe that for 1 second. I think it's Marvel's like, look, this is how you're going to do it. This is how we're weaving him back into our universe. This is what you can do. This is what you can't do. You can say whatever you want to the public, but this is what you're doing because you suck at doing it on your own.
I disagree. I think, honestly, aside from Spider-Man 3 with emo Peter Parker,
Why did you have to bring him in? For
I know,
this?
and besides the Amazing Spider-Man 2,
Right.
Sony has done a kick-ass job with the Spider-Man franchise. Like
You just
Spider-Man
named
1 and
2
2
out of the 5
It's
movies.
2 out of 5, but Spider-Man 1 is really good. Spider-Man 2 is in the top 5 greatest
it's
comic book
great.
movies of all time. The first Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, I thought was the second best Spider-Man movie, just behind
Those are big
Spider-Man
words.
2. I thought Andrew Garfield's first Spider-Man movie was better than the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie.
Right, but the second Amazing Spider-Man 2 tarnished the first
Yeah.
one. It's
Well,
just
sure.
like the Matrix.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you have the Matrix
Yeah.
and then 2 and 3, then you're like, the Matrix isn't as good as now that they added these other pieces of garbage.
The
next
Matrix,
to it,
the Matrix
you know?
didn't have any sequels. What are you talking
Oh,
about?
that's
Yeah,
right.
the
Yeah, the
Matrix is
Matrix
a
never had a
standalone
sequel.
film.
No, it's true. So
You
I
didn't
mean,
have
like
the
when you have the
Wachowskis.
Parkers, or like they're secret agents and all that garbage part. You know, it's like that was still that was still part of the Amazing Spider-Man, but it was easier to not pay attention to it than they kept bringing that forward. So I don't know. I think that all of that has to go away. You know, and it
Oh,
probably
no,
will.
and then, yeah, you can't, if you're going to merge these things together, you cannot bring anything over from the old, except, I still believe, JK.
Yeah, we said that this morning.
Bring J.K. Simmons over, bring him
JK.
back as J. Jonah Jameson, and
Yeah.
you will have me as a fan for life.
That's
I mean,
right.
He's going to cost more now. He's going to
What?
get
Right,
an
Oscar
Oscar, get an Oscar
nomination.
soon.
Yeah.
But
so-
here's the funny thing. We did a story
talk
about
about.
a week ago where J.K., I think he was a guest on the Howard Stern show, and Howard Stern directly asked him, "You going to be J. Jonah Jameson or something like that?" And he was paused. J.K. Simmons paused for a second, said, "Well, I've had a conversation with some people, and something's happening, but I can't really talk about anything. So, like, whether that means he's gonna,
What
go.
a tease.
I know. I want him back as J. Jonah so bad. Then
Well, hopefully he was talking to Marvel, not
all do.
Sony. You know?
oh well, yeah. Well, I mean, it would be Sony's decision. So
Yeah.
I mean, Here we go. All right, well, guys, that's all the news that we have and that we brought today. So we want to make the rest of the evening about you guys and the topics and questions you guys want us to discuss. So if you've got a topic or question to bring up, head on over to that side, stand on the big C, and then line up behind, and we will get going. Oh, Justin, you want to turn that light on, and we're going to get going. So, again, guys, floored that you all showed up to this. Thank you so much. We're so honored to have you here. So here's what we're going to do. When I call on you to ask your question, just say your name first. It can just be your first name if you want, and then ask your question and make sure you project loud so we can hear you. So let's start. First question.
Hey guys, my name's Bart.
Hey Bart, who gave us, hold a second,
The
who gave us
coolest.
these cozies,
Cool.
these AMC beer cozies.
Yes, beer
How
cozies.
awesome. These are like so cool.
Hey, Bart.
Okay, Bart, what's your question?
My question is, of all, it doesn't have to be your most favorite, but like of all of your favorite non-traditional actors that have taken part in movies, who's your favorite and what role did he play? Like mine is like Andre the Giant in like The Princess Bride.
Good one.
Okay, so the question is, of all non-traditional actors, like Andre the Giant and Princess Bride, who would be like our favorite performance of a non-traditional actor?
Roddy Piper. They live.
They live. That is so good. Actually, you know, remember how any of you guys used to play Duke Nukem? Yeah, I mean, some of the lines in Duke Nukem that are so famous in Duke Nukem, they got from Roddy Piper. I came here for two things: to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of gum. So, I mean, that's like one of the great lines. I think you named the best one of all time,
So good.
Andre the Giant and the Princess Bride. Although Ashley Mova would have no idea what we're talking about.
That's right.
The one with Anne Hathaway.
Love
The one with Anne
Anne
Hathaway.
Hathaway's.
I'm trying to think of another.
too.
Oh, you know what? Because even he didn't do much acting in it, but I thought them getting guitars for the Rolling Stones.
Keith Richards.
Keith Richards showing up in
yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean as Captain Jack's dad. I thought that was
I
actually
didn't
a
even
nice
remember
little.
that.
Yeah,
I
I thought
blocked it out.
I thought that was a real nice.
Hey, here's
little
another
appearance.
one. Alice Cooper in Prince of Darkness. Remember he played the bum for like 3 seconds? That's not really.
I
that's a throwaway.
liked Batista and Drax.
Oh
as
well,
Drax.
Batista's
Yeah.
Drax the Destroyer. Yeah.
I liked Eminem in 8 Mile. I
Yes,
thought he did a great
me
job.
too.
Yeah, he was good in playing himself. Can you guys think of any others off the top of your head? Like of a non.
It's a good question. I
There we
wanna
go.
think about
David
it.
Bowie
in anything.
Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
The
good one.
man, the last man on earth.
All right, let's go to the next question. What's up?
Hey you guys, my name is Rob.
Hey, Rob.
All right, I know you guys said before that you might be interested in a prequel to John Wick to see how he turned into a type of assassin. You know, what about that movie with Collateral with Tom Cruise? Wouldn't you be interested to see how he became to be that type of hitman assassin guy?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, so the question is, we mentioned before that we're interested in a prequel to like John Wick, but he brings up, what about Collateral? The Tom Cruise, Jamie Foxx was with
yeah.
him in that one.
Great
Jamie
movie.
Foxx got nominated for an Academy Award for that.
Yeah, he was
role.
great in that role.
He was great.
Yeah.
That's the year he got nominated for 2 Academy Awards. He got nominated for that, and he got nominated. It's the same year as
And
Ray,
he-
was it
he
not?
won for Ray.
And he won for Ray, right? Well, actually, specifically, I'm not as interested in a prequel about John Wick. I'm actually interested in a prequel about that hotel for assassins,
Continental.
the Continental
Yeah.
in John Wick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really more down about that. But I mean, I would see a John Wick thing, like how he became the boogeyman. Like, how many of you guys saw John Wick? Okay, good. Most of you.
Yeah.
So good.
That movie blows my mind. I haven't enjoyed a movie like that in so
Most
long.
dome shots ever.
Yeah.
It's just period.
But it's been so long since I've seen Collateral. I just remember I liked it a lot. I can't remember enough about it to see and it might be too long now since it's been out.
It
to
was
do
like
a prequel
Tom
on
Cruise was like getting a cab ride around, and it was like
Yeah.
the dude was like a hitman.
And
Tom
he
Wait,
had-
Tom
Cruise
Cruise was the
yeah.
hitman,
Yeah.
and Jamie Foxx was the guy with the cab.
Caught in
driver.
the middle of a bad situation. Yeah.
He was great in it. So, yeah, I don't know if I'd want to see. I'd rather watch the Cab Driver Chronicles. Like, I don't need to see about the hitman thing, but like John Wick, definitely. So.
All right, what's next? What do we got here?
Hey guys, this is Joshua.
Hey, Joshua.
I think it'd be an injustice if I didn't get to ask you a Star Wars question.
Oh, yeah, hit me. Star Wars
What is
question.
that?
So I know, like, we all know that we're going to get spin-off movies within every other year. So my question for you guys is, besides the rumors of Boba Fett, Han Solo, what's another character out of the 3 or the 6, if you want to count the prequels, the established character in those movies that you would like to see a spin-off of?
Lando.
Yeah, Lando. Seeing Billy D with some smooth Colt 45.
Awesome.
Playing Sabak. Yeah, that would be. Honestly, like my answer to that is honestly none of them. I want to see. I'm not into prequels. I'm like, and it's not just the Star Wars prequels. I'm just not all that into prequels at all. Look, you've got this vast, amazing galaxy in Star Wars. You could tell any story you want. Make up new stories that aren't directly connected to the trilogy. And like, do a Seven Samurai kind of story on some weird Outer Rim world or something like that. Like, and I don't think the Boba Fett thing's happening. I think Boba Fett's going to actually be a character in Rian Johnson's first spin-off movie. Not Rian Johnson's first spin-off. Who's directing?
Gareth Edwards.
Gareth Edwards' first spin-off movie, where it's going to be about a group of bounty hunters that steal the original plan to the Death Star that Princess Leia gets in Star Wars. So I think the first one, the rumor is that, and it's pretty credible, that the rumor is that that's going to be the first spin-off movie, and Boba Fett will be a part of that.
As he should be.
As he should be. I don't know if it's going to be a direct.
Yeah, but it's going to be all the original, those Bosk, IG-88, all those guys that y'all have toys of. That's going to be the Seven Samurais, because there's basically 7 of them right there.
But do you guys have any characters from Star Wars you'd like to see a prequel
Not
on?
necessarily him as the main character, but I'd love to see a story about surrounding Jabba the Hutt, in terms of like him becoming like a crime lord, and you know, they'd have to create another main character for that, but just that whole kind of backstory towards that.
A movie about slugs.
Yeah. Sure, why not?
Definitely.
I want to see the Gungans, like a whole maybe a 7-part, Avatar style
How
thing.
Jar Jar became Jar Jar.
Yeah, what's up with Jar Jar? How'd all that happen?
How'd he become a hero?
Don't want to see that. Just kidding.
I want to see a movie of Jabba the Hutt, and he's in court the whole movie. He's being sued for sexual harassment for his dancers. I think that would be funny.
First Class was a prequel, and that was amazing.
Okay, yeah. There's
so
exceptions to everything.
Right.
First Class is definitely an exception.
I like prequels if creative, because it's cool to see the characters that we fell in love with, how they came to be. So, if done right.
Sometimes I like to leave the mystery. But there are good ones. There are exceptions, absolutely. All right, what's next?
I want to talk about movies that are based on historical events and real.
First of all, who are you?
Leo Rich.
Hey, you doing, man? Okay, so continue.
So movies based on based on a true story or based on historical events, like a movie like Selma that came out this year.
Right.
Great movie.
Way directors and screenwriters should have one, like with their portrayal of characters. Like I know Selma's under a little bit of heat for their portrayal of LBJ.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And the way they portrayed him. And just movies in general, how they portray different people. Chris Kyle in American Sniper is another one that's under a lot of heat. Their portrayal of Chris Sniper with his comments on, I think it's Van, the governor of Minnesota.
I thought you were going to say Van Damme.
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Jesse the Body Ventura, yeah.
Alan Turing, too. There's a lot of them.
Comments about the Superdome and just the portrayal of people like this and how much leeway directors have.
Right. So the question is, when talking about true stories or based on true stories, how much leeway should directors have when talking about real historical characters and things like that? Brought up specifically American Sniper or Selma. Look, I've kind of said this before. I'm totally cool if Martin Luther King Jr. on his epic march gets stopped by the police and he pulls out a lightsaber. I really don't. For me, the movies are the movies. History is history. And when you can bring them together and make great cinema, go for it. But I always kind of feel like directors should have the freedom to just make a movie. I've never felt that the movies should feel the responsibility to be history teachers. But that's just me. I know a lot of guys who are a lot smarter than me that really love specific to the detail historical accuracy. She's one of them. And to me, it's about their first responsibility is making a good movie, not being faithful to true history. It's about making a good movie. A lot of other people who are smarter than me say, no, it's about being as true as possible. What about you guys? How much leeway should they take?
This one.
Go for it.
If you are addressing something that is a really important part of our history and you're claiming it to be true, I think you're doing a disservice to it, personally. LBJ was very involved in the civil rights movement, and they made him look like a doofus, you know? So to me, I think you have a responsibility and important, especially like that. Martin Luther King, he was portrayed beautifully. Oyelowo was haunting. He should have been nominated for an Academy Award. Yeah. But I do think that you have a responsibility if you're claiming this is on a true story. It's one thing to say this is partially based on a true story, and we're also going to have fun with it. But to me, if it's something like that, Alan Turing, Stephen Hawking, all these incredible figures that you could read history books about and find out the facts, I do see films like that based on historical drama for, to find out more about them. So I do think that taking liberties to be more liberal in this aspect is not the right way to go.
Well, I'll
personally.
say this. I got really confused when I saw Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, because like as far as everything I read, like what I was taught as a kid, it just flipped the script. I was kind of confused. I saw the movie. I started crying at one point. There was a scene with a train and vampires. I was like, how is this real?
The horses.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. I really was confused for several weeks until I was told that it was fake. And none of that stuff was real.
And you wonder why Daniel Day-Lewis took that role, too.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, it was really
like
weird.
Killing vampires.
Yeah, how could he be part of this? Yeah. It was weird. Then I saw the Lincoln movie with that, and I was like, where are the vampires? I was kind of angry. I was like, this is kind of boring. Yeah, I'm really bored. So, yeah, there is really there's that line. And I personally, I'm one of the people who hate those, like, Benjamin Franklin, zombie killer. I'm not a fan of those unless it's made by Troma. I don't need to see $100 million big budget.
Or the Asylum.
Or the Asylum. It's got to be in a Sharknado type environment. I don't want to see $100 million blown on a stupid idea like that. So it gets me angry, obviously. But yeah, but what you're saying is like when you blur the lines of truth as far as what's fact and fiction, you got to remember also within a 2-hour constriction of a movie, you're not ever going to get the truth, and you're not getting the truth anyway. It's some screenwriter who wrote a bunch of scenes together to make a movie make sense from A to Z. You're not getting the truth. In fact, you'll never get the truth unless you lived it, unless you experience it. So there's so many levels that go into making a film and a drama when it comes to certain scenes that were just added and fabricated.
Those are choices, though,
right.
The way they shaped
What I'm
him.
saying, yeah, those choices there, I haven't seen Selma yet. So, and also, it's like those choices, that's a different thing than what I'm talking about. It's like when you make something and you're trying to get as much of the truth in as possible, you just can't. You combine things. You find yourself combining things, and that's what a movie is. It's never made. A movie is never made to be like this is all the truth. It's based on the truth, and as much as you can get into it. I mean, otherwise, if you're really into a historical figure, do some awesome stuff and go to the library.
Documentaries.
Use the internet. You can Wikipedia. You can Google. You can find out so much information just online, and all these different stories have been written about these specific figures by hundreds of different authors. So there's all this cross-referencing you do if you so desire to get all that kind of knowledge.
It's tough too. I mean, yeah, I think you can. I think the director should have some sort of leeway or screenwriting. I don't know if did you guys watch Lone Survivor? Any of you guys watch Lone Survivor? Yeah. You know that ending is like totally made up, right? Yeah. Like he was in that village. He did get saved, but then they just came and saved him. But they created this whole
different than a president,
battle.
though. Huh? That's different than a president, though.
That's the principle. We're talking about the principle.
Yeah, well, American Snipers is based on a true guy that's not a president. So but they. They omitted some stuff for that. So I don't know. There is a fine line. So I'm kind of in between the both of you.
Yeah. Well, sticking really true, taking some liberties, to me, if it can get some people talking about the stuff, I think that's even better. I think that's great. All right, we will pick up the pace. I know there's a lot of guys who have questions. Great question.
There's a little kid in the audience that's got a bunch of questions for like the last 15 minutes. Maybe we should talk to the little
actually
child.
Far more interesting than what I'm saying up here. All right, what's up?
Hey, my name's Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, I have another Star Wars question for you.
Awesome, another Star Wars question.
All right, so a fan favorite of Star Wars is Wedge Antilles.
Wedge Antilles, yep.
And Dennis Lawson has not expressed any interest in showing up in the new Star Wars, so can it happen that they recast Wedge and we still see him in the 7th Star Wars, or is that something we kind of stay away from?
So Lawson is not coming back to play Wedge Antilles, so the question is, could they still do Wedge Antilles and have another actor replace him? The answer to that part of the question is absolutely yes. They could recast anybody they wanted to. So, and it's been so many years that you could just get a guy that even remotely looks like Lawson and say, this is Wedge 30 years later, and it's no problem. But Wedge was unfortunate, although he was the only pilot he was the only pilot involved in the destruction of both the Death Stars. I think that gets overlooked. And he was, when the little partying down the Ewok village, he was one of the only non-major characters down there with them.
And he was in the Snow Speeders and Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, he was one of the guys who saved Luke and all that kind of stuff. So for super hardcore nerds like me about Star Wars, we know the value of Wedge Antilles. But, you go to my cousin, say, hey, what do you think about Wedge Antilles? He's like, what? Who?
Is that a salad?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think anybody will care. So I don't think we're going to see Wedge in the movies. I don't think they're even going to reference him. I don't think the new movies are even going to have that big of an emphasis on the old characters. No. I think the weight of the story is going to focus on the new characters with the older characters playing a supporting role.
Which is awesome.
So could they replace him? Yes. Will they replace him? They probably won't, I don't think. Do you guys see it any other way?
No. Did Porkins die? Did he?
Porkins,
the
actor who played
Porkins.
Porkins is unfortunately dead.
Oh, that sucks.
I say that with a smile.
And Porkins died in the movie
okay.
anyway.
Yeah, he did die.
I want to see a solo spin-off movie.
A prequel.
Yes.
A Porkins
prequel of Porkins. Yeah, Porkins Redemption.
When he was first known as Skinny Guy.
Yeah, Porkins Genesis. That's a brand new one. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, what's next?
My name is CJ.
Hey, CJ.
Hey, made it.
Appreciate you getting me in here too. So.
No problem.
Yeah.
Questions about the joint between Sony and Marvel.
Right.
I guess it's a rumor. I'm not sure if it's been confirmed. Are they going with a younger Spider-Man? Only so like around the high school age.
Right.
They said 19.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Feel like that.
Hey, look, the only thing that I really don't want to see is another origin story. Like we've seen a couple now in the past number of years. I don't want to see another origin story. I actually put up this picture today that somebody sent me on my Facebook, and it's a picture of Martin Sheen, sorry, as Uncle Ben, and the caption on it reads, "OF, I'm gonna die again." And it's like
they should get a double picture of him and Cliff Robertson, like giving the finger or something.
That scene gets me every time. I know it's coming, but it gets me every time.
But going younger, I think going younger makes sense. The traditional Peter Parker is the young student. If they're saying he's just out of high school, that's cool too. I'm fine with that. Actually, I prefer just out of high school because that means we don't have to watch the origin story again. But a young Peter Parker makes sense. And go young because of Look, you don't want to reboot this every 5 years. Get a guy in who can play Spider-Man for the next 12 years, who can play Spider-Man for the next 13, 14 years, right? Because some people are saying, bring back Tobey Maguire.
No, thank you.
I don't want a 42-year-old Tobey. I don't want a 42-year-old Peter Parker. You know, I just don't want
back problems 10 years ago. He can barely walk right now. It's all going to be CG, right? I don't have legs anymore. It's cool. He's back in. We got him. Yeah.
But I look, if they go younger, I'm all for it. If they go older, I'm not going to be against it until I see what the context is. But just on face value, I'm all for younger. You guys disagree or agree?
It'll be interesting against the older Avengers, though, too.
Oh, that's true too. That gives you some cool dynamics.
Yeah. It will be.
You know, to me, the Amazing Spider-Man is the Stan Lee, Steve Ditko Spider-Man. That's what I always think of. It doesn't matter even when I read the new comics. It's always against that bar. So for me, like, if they were like, that's what Raimi made. He made those Steve Ditko, Stan Lee Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we already have that, so I don't need to see that again. And that's what I kind of liked about the first Amazing Spider-Man, that they were going with a different kind of origin just to change it up a little bit. But, like, I remember reading Kevin Feige said, no more origin stories. We don't need to waste time with origin. I'm sort of with him. I mean, anyone who's been alive knows who Spider-Man is.
Yeah, we don't need to see it again.
You've got all these different versions, just like Batman. You kind of know.
You
about
do
this
have to
character.
explain just briefly. If you're not telling the origin story again, you do need to come up with a way to explain. Well, where the hell was Spider-Man when an alien race was invading New York? You do have to answer that, but you can answer that in 2 minutes. You can say he was on a class trip to Bolivia.
And he wasn't Spider-Man yet.
Yeah,
That's how you answer it.
Oh, yeah,
maybe
he became Spider-Man just last year.
Yeah, he just literally got bit by this
last year.
weird spider, and he's freaking out. He made a costume or something. You know,
That makes a lot of sense. I think they might have to go that way because of that.
Yeah. All right, now we're really going to start flying through some of these. So, Justin, what's our time like? How much time? We have 5 minutes left? Okay, we're going to go rapid fire here. Okay, what's up?
Okay, I'm Chris Beck.
Hey, Chris.
After the events of the interview, do you think the government is going to or should have more influence on the content of movies to prevent something like that from happening again?
Okay, so the question is, given the events that happened surrounding the interview, should the government have some control over the content of movies to prevent something like this happens again? So the answer to that question is absolutely not. The government should never have any input or influence over what people can or cannot say.
Remember, we live in America.
Yeah.
This is how it is, you know. No influence at all on anything created.
But you know that means when you say, look, freedom. I'm trying to remember the president that said it, but they said it really well. Freedom is messy, you know, and that's true. Freedom is messy, but it's a beautiful messy, and that means when you have freedom, that means some people are going to do stupid things. And we have to accept that and then deal with those problems as they come one at a time. I don't think the answer is ever going to be, let's ban everything. And I know that's not what you were suggesting, but I mean, we got to be careful about crossing that line. Like personally,
they can also change one name of, you know, the dictator, of the president, or whatever, so you piss off less people, but it's still implied that it's that person. I think that's
that should be the studio that makes the decision.
Yeah, it should never be the government.
If there's a president, you know, Obama picture, and they're assassinated in a different country, we might have been pissed too. So yes, but freedom of speech over everything.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna take one more question. We're gonna wrap it up here.
My name is Martinez. I'm going to ask a question on the Spider-Man thing.
Okay.
I'm with you, John. Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2.
That's like the penultimate Spider-Man.
We're talking about the Raimi Spider-Man 2. Okay, yeah.
Clearly.
But the classical was magical. Also like Amazing, but Amazing Spider-Man 2 kind of let me down. And I kind of don't relate.
All of us.
That Peter Parker.
Right.
My question is, I was thinking maybe the older Spider-Man would be better, like the one like from the animated 92.
Right.
That's the Spider-Man that I think of. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. However, I had a friend of mine ask Miles Morales.
Wilson Morales.
Yeah.
What do you think of him? Maybe
Miles Morales. What did I say?
Miles.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Wilson.
Wilson Morales is my buddy who writes for Black Film in New York City. So sorry, Wilson. Miles Morales. No. And here's why. It's not because he's not a cool character. It's the same reason you don't have. I can't remember Azrael Paul. Does anybody remember Azrael's real name in the Batman comics? It's
like
Paul.
John something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he was Batman for a while. Make a Batman movie where he's Batman. No, because the general movie-going public, which represent 96% of the people who are going to go see these movies, to them, Batman is Bruce Wayne. And one second. So with Spider-Man, that's why you've heard the producers say this in the past too. With Spider-Man, when the general movie-going public think about Spider-Man, they think of Peter Parker. Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and so I think there's some really cool things you can do with a Morales character. You're gonna have that's gonna be a hard sell. So you had a quick follow-up.
What about that older Spider-Man? Maybe like around college, or maybe he's married to Mary Jane at this point. What do you think about that one?
Like I said before, I'm cool with that. I would prefer to hear younger, but if they said we're going to get an older one, he's already married to Mary Jane, like what you're saying, right? I'm cool, and I'll withhold judgment until I hear what the context of the movie is. Because if it makes sense to the context of the movie, great, I'm in. If it doesn't, well, then I'm not so happy. But we have to see how the movie.
What if you had a 68-year-old Spider-Man, like a really old Spider-Man, and he's raising Miles Morales, and it's just called Spider-Man?
Steve Buscemi.
Yeah,
Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi is Spider-Man.
The new old Spider-Man, and then we still have Miles Morales. And why do they have to have all their names like begin with the Miles Morales, Peter Parker, Clark,
Lex Luthor,
Lois Lane.
Lois Lane.
Because it's beautiful.
Because beautiful. Okay, folks, that's all the time we've got. We got time for one more. All right, we got time for one more.
Lucky
awesome.
you.
Lucky you. All right, what's up?
Hey, my name's Z.
Hey, Z. I love your shirt, by the way. That's awesome.
My question is, what happened to the reboot of Spawn? I know Todd McFarlane was working on it. Haven't heard anything since then. I'm not sure if it was ever greenlit or not. But yeah, my question is, have you guys heard anything about it? And also, if it does come out, who would you like to see, play Spawn?
So the question about Spawn is, whatever happened to the reboot of Spawn? Okay, so here's the thing. McFarlane talking about Spawn has been like Dan Aykroyd talking about Ghostbusters for the past 15 years. It's coming, I promise, it's coming. And, then it never happens. McFarlane has been saying forever, yep, I'm working on it. Yep, it's coming anytime now. We've been hearing that for 7 years, more. I think Spawn would make an amazing reboot. I think you could do a great reboot with Spawn. Keep the budget in check. You do a new Spawn, kind of like, I know Punisher Warzone made no money, but I loved that movie.
It was awesome.
I love Punisher Warzone, and that was low budget, whatever. I think you do Spawn. Obviously, there's some things you need to spend money on with Spawn, obviously. I would love to see it, but, I mean, honestly, I'm not going to listen to anything McFarlane says anymore because he's been talking about this for so long. I'm going to wait till the studio says, we have acquired the rights to Spawn. We're going to move forward with McFarlane writing it and all that kind of stuff. When that happens, then it'll get my attention. Until
it's actually been 15 years.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to be
I
happening.
think Charlie Sheen, Martin Sheen was in that too.
Yeah, Martin Sheen was in that. It's just, I mean, McFarlane talks about every year. He's like, I've got a new dark spin on it. It's only going to cost $3 million.
Unlike the lighthearted happy spin,
right? Exactly. And like the weird, strange thing about a guy who goes to hell and comes back and he's still a demon. A different version that's darker. Yeah, it's a weird. But yeah, it doesn't really make sense. He's either going to have to pony up the money himself, because I don't think any of the studios are interested in it.
He's got the money for it.
He does. So it's really, is McFarlane going to make his own movie is the question. So.
Well, I'm a huge McFarlane fan, but especially as an artist, but he can't write. I mean, it's the truth. If you read any of the old Spawns and old Spider-Mans, he's not a good writer. He's a great artist. So him saying that he's writing his own, that scares me.
Fair enough. Well, okay, folks, that will do it for us for this installment of AMC Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us.
Atlanta edition.
The Atlanta edition. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
Regular spiel. Don't forget, guys, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and, of course, your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video, and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. And don't forget, click the thumbs up button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow these guys. Joining me up here, don't forget you can follow Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter @ThinkHero and on Instagram, Dennis.tzng. And you guys, we're going to meet up with some of you guys after this.
Yeah. And over here on my left, Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach. Amy Rose, where can people find you?
Twitter and Instagram @AmyRosie. Thanks, guys.
And the one, the only Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
Find me at Twitter and Instagram @JohnSchnepp and @TDOSLWH. And The Death of Superman Lives What Happened May 1st.
Woo!
Yeah. And you can find me on the various social media networks, just @JohnCampia. So thank you so much, guys, for having us here and for being here and a part of the audience with us tonight. This is just awesome. My name is John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.